Lyra Belacqua's story captured the hearts of millions with The Golden Compass, a movie that promised an epic trilogy but was never completed. The journey was left unfinished, the fate of the characters unanswered, and the real ending hidden within the pages of the books. What happened to Lyra after she crossed the portal her father opened? Who was Will Parry, and why is his story connected to hers? What secrets does dust hold, and why are so many willing to kill or die for it? In this video, I'll reveal everything the movie never showed you, from the descent into the world of the dead to the final battle against the angels of heaven. This is the full story, the true ending of The Golden Compass, and the conclusion that never made it to the big screen. The Golden Compass. In a world parallel to ours, every person is born with a demon, an animal-shaped creature that represents their soul. In children, these beings can change form, but upon reaching adulthood, they settle into a fixed shape, reflecting the person's true nature. In this universe, ruled by a theocratic institution known as the Magisterium, any discovery that challenges its authority is considered heresy. Lyra Belacqua, a 12-year-old girl, has grown up in Jordan College, Oxford, under the care of scholars and the college master. Alongside her demon, Pantalaimon, she roams freely through the halls and rooftops, unaware that her destiny is about to change. One day, hiding in a wardrobe, she witnesses the master attempting to poison a glass of wine meant for Lord Asriel, her supposed uncle. Lyra warns him just in time, and then listens to Asriel's presentation on dust, mysterious particles that seem to be attracted only to adults. Asriel shows images of the north where a city is suspended within the northern lights. His research is dangerous, but the scholars agree to fund it, knowing full well they'll be defying the Magisterium. Soon after, her best friend Roger disappears, and it's suspected that he's been kidnapped by the Gobblers, a group surrounded by dark rumors. Amidst the uncertainty, a charming and elegant woman named Mrs. Coulter appears, offering to take Lyra to London as her assistant. Before she leaves, the Master of Jordan secretly gives her an alethiometer, a device resembling a compass that can answer any question to those who can read it. He warns her to keep it hidden. In London, Lyra is enchanted by Mrs. Coulter's glamour, but she soon discovers her cruel side, especially after witnessing how harshly her golden monkey demon treats Pantalaimon. At a party, Lyra overhears that Mrs. Coulter is linked to the Gobblers and that Lord Asriel has been imprisoned on a northern island called Svalbard, guarded by armored bears. That same night, Lyra escapes and is rescued by the Egyptians, a nomadic canal people who have also lost many children. The Egyptians bring her before their leaders, John Faya and Farder Koram, who reveal that they have been watching over her since she was a baby. Lyra learns the truth. Asriel is her father, and Mrs. Coulter is her mother. Discovering she can read the alethiometer naturally, the Egyptians decide to take her north with them, where they plan to rescue the kidnapped children. During the journey, Lyra meets Serafina Pekkala, queen of a witch clan, and Yorick Burnison, a disgraced armored bear. She helps Yorick reclaim his armor, and in gratitude, he joins their cause. They are also joined by Lee Scoresby, a Texan aeronaut with a hot air balloon. As they move toward Bolvangar, the Gobblers' research center, Lyra gets separated from the group and finds a boy whose connection to his demon has been severed. The boy dies shortly after. Through this, she learns the horrifying truth. The Gobblers are cutting children away from their demons in a process called intercision, a kind of mutilation of the soul. Lyra is captured and taken to Bolvangar. There, she pretends to be just another child, reunites with Roger, and plans an escape. Before they can flee, she's caught and brought to the intercision machine. At the last moment, Mrs. Coulter appears and stops the procedure. She explains that the goal is to prevent children from developing adult emotions, but the process is still unsafe. Lyra uses a fire drill as cover to free the children and set the place ablaze. With help from the witches, the Egyptians, Iorak, and Scoresby, they manage to escape. Lyra, Roger, and Iorek continue towards Svalbard in Lee's balloon. But along the way, Lyra falls and is captured by the bears. King Iofur Raknison, who has usurped Iorek's throne, longs to have a demon like humans do. Lyra tricks him into believing that she is his demon and that he must fight Iorek to earn a real one. Iorek arrives, defeats Iofur in combat, and reclaims his rightful place as king. In gratitude, he gives Lyra the name Silvertongue. Now free, Lyra, Iorek, and Roger reach Lord Asriel's laboratory in the Svalbard Mountains. Upon seeing Roger, Asriel behaves strangely. That night, he escapes with Roger, and Lyra follows, only to realize the awful truth. Asriel needs to sever a child from their demon to release enough energy to open a portal to another world. Roger dies in the process. Asriel successfully opens a rift in the sky, a doorway to another universe. Mrs. Coulter catches up to him but refuses to join him. Asriel steps through the portal alone. Devastated by Roger's death, Lyra decides that if Dust is so feared by her parents and the Magisterium, maybe it's something worth fighting for. Together with Pantalaimon, she crosses the rift and steps into the unknown. The subtle knife. As Lyra crosses the portal her father opened in the sky, in another version of Oxford, a 12-year-old boy named Will Parry is on the run after accidentally killing an intruder. Since he was very young, Will has cared for his mother, whose mental health has been unstable ever since his father, John Parry, vanished during an expedition to the Arctic. While escaping from those pursuing him, Will stumbles through a window that leads to another world, a strange, empty city called Cittàgazze. There, he meets Lyra and her demon, Pantalaimon. They too have arrived from their own world, following the portal Lord Asriel created after sacrificing Roger. Cittàgazze seems deserted, but they soon learn why. It's overrun by invisible creatures called specters, which feed on the souls of adults but leave children unharmed. As a result, the adult inhabitants have fled, leaving the city in the hands of roving gangs of children. In search of answers, Lyra and Will return to Will's version of Oxford. Lyra visits a museum, where the alethiometer reveals that dust has existed for thousands of years and that something fundamental changed in humanity 35,000 years ago. During her scientific inquiries, she meets Dr. Mary Malone, a physicist studying dark matter, which Lyra recognizes as dust, using a computer capable of communicating with the particles. Surprisingly, the alethiometer confirms that Mary's computer, the alethiometer itself, and even the I Ching are all valid tools for communicating with dust. Meanwhile, Will researches at a library and discovers a folder containing his father's letters. There, he learns that John Parry found a window to another world during his expedition. The coordinates match the portal Will himself crossed, confirming that he and his father have traveled similar paths. However, Lyra is secretly being watched by an elegant man named Sir Charles Leitrim, who is, in fact, Lord Boreal, a nobleman from Lyra's world who has also learned how to travel between universes. Leitrim gains Lyra's trust and steals the alethiometer, demanding a trade. He wants them to retrieve a mysterious and powerful knife located in Cittàgazze. Back in that city, Lyra and Will search for the knife in a tower inhabited by a man named Giacomo Paradisi. The knife has already been stolen by a young thief, and in trying to recover it, Will loses 2 fingers on his left hand. Paradisi explains that this injury marks him as the new bearer of the weapon, the subtle knife. One edge can cut through any physical material, the other can slice open portals between worlds. From that moment on, Lyra and Will's bond deepens. Together, they use the knife to cut a window into Boreal's study and recover the alethiometer. During the mission, Will witnesses how Marisa Coulter, Lyra's mother, manipulates Boreal to extract information about the knife, then poisons him and leaves him to die. Meanwhile, Lee Scoresby searches for the missing Stanislaus Grumman, who has taken the name Jopari among the northern tribes. He is, in fact, John Parry, Will's father. Grumman has lived as a shaman and now seeks the bearer of the knife to assist Lord Asriel in his war against the Authority, a celestial figure representing the Magisterium's oppressive power. Lee and Parry travel together in Scoresby's hot air balloon, but are attacked by Magisterium Zeppelins. Lee sacrifices himself, fighting heroically against the soldiers so John can complete his mission, and dies in the process. In Oxford, Mary Malone, guided by dust, destroys her computer and crosses into the world of Setagaza. Dust, revealed to be a form of consciousness associated with the rebel angels who once tempted Eve, tells her she must play the role of the serpent, an enigmatic message she doesn't yet understand. Meanwhile, the witches, led by Serafina Pekkala, try to protect Lyra and heal Will's wound, but they cannot stop the magical bleeding caused by the knife. Ruta Skadi, another witch, returns from scouting Asriel's army and reports that it is immensely powerful. Only something called Ezaheter could defeat the Authority, though no one knows exactly what it is yet. Lyra and Will, now inseparable allies, are visited by angels who seek to guide Will to Lord Asriel. But before they can depart, Lyra mysteriously vanishes. Will finds her abandoned backpack and the bodies of the witches who had been guarding her, devoured by specters. High on a nearby mountain, Will finally reunites with his father, John Parry, also known as Stanislaus Grumman. At first, they don't recognize each other, but a silent glance is enough to reveal the truth. The moment is brief but profoundly moving. Will, who has spent his life longing for answers, finally meets the absent man he had always hoped to know. Marked by years of exile, John heals Will's wound with a shamanic balm and explains that the knife's destiny is to reach Lord Asriel, for only then can the war against the Authority be won. For the first time, father and son share words, a purpose, and a meaningful look, but their emotional truce lasts only seconds. A witch named Judica Mainen, driven mad by unrequited love, appears suddenly and shoots John Parry with an arrow. Will watches helplessly as his father dies, before he can even fully grasp the bond they had just formed. Consumed by remorse, the witch takes her own life. Once again, Will is left alone, devastated by loss, holding the knife and the legacy he can no longer escape. In that moment, the burden of the knife becomes even heavier. It doesn't just cut through worlds, it severs lives. The second chapter of this story ends with more questions than answers and a new mission: to find Lyra and understand her true role as the second Eve, the prophesied figure who could change the fate of all worlds. The Amber Spyglass. As a cosmic war brews high above the skies, Lyra lies asleep in a remote cave in the Himalayas. Her mother, Marissa Coulter, has hidden her there under the influence of drugs, trying to protect, or perhaps control, her, to prevent a prophecy from being fulfilled. Lyra is the new Eve, and the Magisterium fears she could trigger a second fall from Eden. In her deep sleep, Lyra speaks with Roger, her deceased friend, and promises to find him, unaware that this dreamlike place is actually the world of the dead. Meanwhile, in Setagaze, Will Parry continues searching for Lyra with the help of two angels, Balthamos and Baruch. They want to take him to Lord Asriel, who is gathering an army to fight the Authority, the being that rules all worlds through fear and false divinity. But Will refuses to abandon Lyra, and the angels agree to stay with him. When they're attacked by an envoy of Metatron, the celestial regent who rules on behalf of the Authority, Will manages to escape by slicing open a portal with the subtle knife. From his floating fortress, Asriel also attempts to rescue Lyra before the Magisterium can eliminate her. He dispatches the Galavespian spies, Lord Tialis and Lady Salmakia, tiny but lethal insect-sized warriors, and a strike force to intercept the Zeppelins sent by the consistorial court. Meanwhile, Mary Malone, the scientist Lyra met in Oxford, has crossed a portal and arrived in the world of the Mulifa, intelligent, elephantine creatures with seed pod wheels. Fascinated by their culture, Mary discovers that dust is vanishing and that the trees sustaining the Mulefa are dying. She builds a spyglass made of lacquered sap that allows her to see the flow of dust, which is no longer falling toward conscious beings, but instead leaking into the heavens. Will reunites with Iorek Burnison, the king of the armored bears, who agrees to help him rescue Lyra. Together, and with the Galavespian spies, they reach the cave just as the Magisterium's forces arrive. Will manages to wake Lyra, but as he tries to cut a portal to escape, the sight of Coulter reminds him of his own mother, and he loses focus. The subtle knife shatters into pieces. Even so, they manage to flee through the crack left open. After several events, Iorek repairs the knife using his blacksmithing skills. Will and Lyra, accompanied by the Galavespians, decide to enter the world of the dead to fulfill Lyra's promise to Roger. To do so, they must leave their demons behind, a separation that is agonizing and nearly unbearable. In that gray, forgotten world, Lyra finds Roger among thousands of trapped souls. Will opens a window into another world, allowing the dead to escape and dissolve into nature, finally setting them free. Meanwhile, the Magisterium has built a bomb based on intercision to kill Lyra remotely, using a strand of her hair. Coulter, betrayed and imprisoned, manages to escape and destroys the device. But it's too late. The explosion creates a massive chasm between worlds. At that moment, the final battle begins. Lord Asriel's forces clash with the Magisterium's armies. Spectres devour souls on the battlefield. In the sky, Metatron descends with absolute power. But Coulter and Asriel lure him to the edge of the abyss, and in a final act of redemption and love for their daughter, sacrifice themselves, pulling the Regent down into eternal oblivion. Metatron, Asriel, and Coulter vanish forever. Lyra and Will liberate the Authority, who turns out not to be a god, but a frail, confused being kept in a crystal prison. Exposing him to the open air causes him to dissolve. The myth of the creator collapses, both literally and symbolically. Afterward, the two teenagers travel to the Mulefa world, where they reunite with Mary Malone. There, Lyra hears Mary's story, how she was once a nun, how she abandoned her faith after experiencing love, and how that change connected her to something greater than any doctrine. Her words stir something new in Lyra, who begins to see Will differently. The next day, they share a picnic under the trees, where they kiss for the first time. In that instant, the dust returns. Consciousness, love, the will to live. That's what nourishes it. But that joy comes at a price. Serafina Pekkala explains that each time a portal is opened, a specter is born, and so all portals must be closed. Only one will remain, the exit from the world of the dead. And there's something even more painful. Will and Lyra cannot stay in the same world without falling ill and dying. They must return to their respective universes, knowing their love cannot exist in reality. Standing at the edge of farewell, they promise each other that every year, on the summer solstice, they will sit on the same bench in the Oxford Botanic Garden, in their respective worlds, knowing the other is there on the other side, sharing an hour, a memory, and an impossible love. Will returns to his world, accompanied by Mary, who now understands that her lost faith has transformed into something deeper. Lyra returns to Jordan College. She can no longer read the alethiometer as she once did. She has lost the innocence that made it possible. But she resolves to study it through reason, patience, and knowledge. With Pantalaimon by her side, now fixed in the form of a pine marten, she promises to build her own Republic of Heaven, not in another world, but in her own. Thus ends the story of two children who crossed worlds, faced gods, and learned that true love, however brief, can change the course of the entire universe. Let me know in the comments which other unfinished movie or saga you'd like to see the ending of. And if you enjoy this kind of content, the best way to support us is by leaving a like and subscribing. See you in the next video.